What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And today I am grateful to drop the top 10 defensive backs in the 2023 NFL draft. So if you guys are new, feel free to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, because I'm going to be posting content almost every single day very soon, as I do during the regular season all the time. I'm super hyped up about this. I've been posting a little bit less, mainly for the reason that I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what I was talking about. I don't want to be doing these extremely way too early, no, like kind of like surface level opinion type of rankings for you guys. I wanted to dive deep. I wanted to write thousands and thousands and thousands of words on these guys. So here it is. It's time. Let's kick right into it. Again, thank you guys so much for being patient with me and being so supportive over summer. I owe you guys a lot. You guys are amazing, and it's going to pay off when we get a lot of this fun content going, because this list is probably going to be different than every single person that you watch on YouTube. This is probably going to be the most different out of all of them. Everybody's going to have their own variations. I feel like mine might be the one with the most variation overall. So let's start off the video with number 1 overall, Jaylon Jones. Did not expect this. This is the last defensive back that I watched, so I was going in, and you'll see who number 2 is. I was like, oh shit, like I'm about to get torn apart for this. And honestly, when I watch Jaylon Jones, I don't think this is going to be a very rare opinion very soon. Jaylon Jones is just unbelievable. Look at his frame, 6'2", 205. He has really solid athleticism overall. Maybe he's not on the 4.3 level, but his IQ is ridiculous. He's recognizing plays developing right behind him before they even develop, and it's unbelievable. He's just amazing. He's good in man. He's amazing in zone as well. And he's even good in the run game. So, there's just nothing wrong with him. Maybe he's not perfect in anything. Like Sauce, I think, was probably the best I've ever seen at the corner position. But Sauce had frame issues. Jaylon Jones doesn't even have that. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jaylon Jones. Huge fan. I think a team like the Steelers, who, again, the quarterback situation, it's the worst unless, of course, Deshaun is not playing. It's the worst in the AFC North. That's going to be 6 games that they very well might lose. Of course, if you guys do want to check those out, I am going to be continuing these record predictions videos because it's fun content, it's easy, and it gets us a good heads up on the rosters as well as what's going to be happening during the season. And of course, we can go back, either roast myself or else give myself credit, like me saying the Eagles were going to get, I think I gave them 9 wins last year. So when everybody said that they're going to get almost 0, your boy had faith. And again, I'm a Steelers fan. I have no allegiance to the Eagles. I just knew, and I still think the Eagles have a rocking roster. The Steelers, I'm not having that high of hopes for them, and their defensive back core is ridiculous. Don't exactly take the team projection as extremely seriously as you probably want to think. It's more there for fun, and I think that team in that range who would be interested in a DB who would be so locked down would be the Steelers. I think that he's going to be going top 10 easily. And if you guys know me, I am a bitch for giving good draft grades, and you'll see it throughout. If you ever see an 80, that is a ridiculous grade. I do not give 80s. So far, it has been I think there's been less than 5 people in this entire class that have gotten an 80 or above. And this class has some good ass dudes. So let's continue. Let's enjoy this. And going on to number 2, Joey Porter. Yes. So he has some issues with some penalties. I will say that he had quite a few penalties, but he's sticky in man. He's in the Big Ten where they have a lot of really good wide receiver talent, and he's sticky in coverage. I love when you're able to just stick to someone's hip. He doesn't exactly have that in man coverage, but his zone coverage ability is awesome. I know that the Patriots aren't exactly the type to be able to run just pure zone. They're much more man heavy, but I think that his zone capabilities flashes instincts, flashes IQ, and man skills can be developed with somebody who is extremely good at developing those corners, like Bill Belichick. Regardless, very solid frame overall. Again, a little bit lighter, but he doesn't really show it. He's really good in the run game. The reason I stopped liking Tank Bigsby is because he couldn't run over Joey Porter or run around him. And I was like, you might as well give the tip of the cap to Joey Porter rather than completely tear apart Tank Bigsby. But again, a really good athlete overall as well. I mean, there's just nothing to really complain about. I think his grippiness and coverage would probably, and his lack of ability in man to be elite, would probably drop him down a little bit. But again, he's a little bit stiff. Like, besides that, there's not really much to complain about. Again, a really solid corner. I want to make sure I watch the Ohio State game versus Garrett Wilson. He won quite a few of those reps, and I was a huge fan of Garrett Wilson. If not mistaken, they got the exact same grade. So awesome stuff. Joey Porter, he's going to be a really good player, and I'm excited to see him develop. Number 3, we got Kelee Ringo, who's going to be a lot of people's number 1. If you look at the grade again, like what, 79 or 81.5, like this is very minuscule except for the Jaylon Jones part. Kelee Ringo is an absolute baller. Big fan of Kelee Ringo. He's just like not the best athlete in the world. He's still really good. Like that's what's going to drop him. Again, he's not going to get an 8 and an 8. He might get like a 7 and a 6.75 or something like that in the athleticism. I grade off of a 5.0 scale as average. Like 5.0 out of 10 is average. So, you know, I want to give credit to the guys who are actually that special. And that's why Jaylon Jones is up in that tier. Kelee Ringo is just a baller, man. I'm a huge fan of him, like in him and run support as well. Physicality, love it. Press, physicality. Just like we have these top 3 guys, all really good in press. And that might be what sets them apart from a lot of these other corners. But honestly, this corner class is pretty damn good in press overall. This is a good DB class, and you're going to see some guys left off this list that you're going to be like, how the hell are these guys not listed here? And it's not because they aren't good, but it's because this class is that good. But again, I think Kelee Ringo does lack a little bit of coverage ability here and there. Again, I feel like it's a little bit like Cedric Van Pran in that aspect where it's like the blocking could improve. But again, extremely solid base. You know that he's pretty damn athletic overall. He's just a really, really good corner, man. Big fan of him. I think a team like the Seahawks would absolutely thrive off of snagging him with their first round pick. Big fan of what can happen here. Again, a little bit stiff, not really, just, you know, not many of these corners are super fluid, and that's okay. It happens to the best of us. Next is defensive back Antonio Johnson. You guys will see the comma is to insinuate the difference between positions. I can't put a position Antonio Johnson. He was playing slot corner, played a game at strong safety last year. I thought he could play boundary corner in the NFL legitimately at 6'3", 200, had really good athleticism as well, but he's switching to safety this year. And he looked really good when I saw some reps at safety. This guy can play anywhere. Huge fan of that. So overall, I think that he's just a really damn good player. Good coverage instincts. He's also really good in the run game. There's just nothing to really bitch about. So big fan of what Antonio Johnson brings to the table. You know, again, another issue, fluidity, like changing directions fluidly. That's really the one issue I have with him. Is overall a really damn good player. Texas A&M has some really talented players, and they do every year. That's why we see them at the top of the recruiting boards every single year. They know how to bring in those 5-star talents, whether that's through under the table deals, now over the table, but regardless, it doesn't matter. They have really good talent. Antonio Johnson is one of those guys, not too far off from his buddy Jaylon Jones. Never thought I would put a Miami corner in a top 10 list, but here we are. Tyrique Stevenson, first off, look at that frame, 6 foot, 212 pounds. That is not a typo. The thing is, he does not get toasted at that size. He has really good athleticism for his build. If he drops maybe like 5 pounds, he gets a 207 and gains maybe 0.3 on a 40 or 0.03. That would be insane. 0.3, 0.03 on a 40. I mean, maybe that could work, but overall, there's not much to bitch about this guy. I think that his issues kind of lie with kind of understanding his instincts, understanding what's going on during the play. There's really not much that I can really disagree with. Ball skills, he didn't really seem to track the ball as well as I wanted him to. Like, he's a really good corner. And, you know, Tyson Campbell was a guy who I was a huge fan of him in man coverage, not as much in zone. And I didn't really think he had the ball skills to get it done because even though he was tight and he was like hip tight coverage, he still couldn't get the ball all the time. And I think a team that would fit that is one that would take a guy like Tyson Campbell, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who traded away CJ Henderson. God help us. But Tyrique Stevenson's a baller, man. Again, I think that he's going to go in that top 40. Now, the U is coming back. Again, they're going to have a high-powered offense, and it just helps out the defense a lot when they actually get to rest, and you have a better defensive system there. Excited to see what's going to happen, man. I mean, this guy, I was going to be ready to give him like a day 3 grade. No, this guy kicked ass. Big fan of him. Again, 77 is a very, very, very impressive grade. So number 6, it's insane that we're still in the 70s in the 6th range. Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous to me. But Brian Branch is a baller. Some people might have him as the number 1 DB in the class. I know Broshon has the number 1 safety. So I'm sorry if I spoiled that already, but I'm sure you've heard him like just absolutely not over this guy. He's a beast, man. Extremely good athlete, but he does have some issues with zone. This is a problem I have with guys like Jordan Battle, as well as my former number 5 overall player, Brandon Joseph. When they're covering in zone, you can tell when a player is actually covering in zone rather than just standing in an area. Brian Branch still is standing in an area. He's farther along than those other 2, which is a shock to me. Again, I was a huge fan of both of those guys, but you still can tell his skills are in man coverage, and it's elite. Apart from that one time where he just let a breakaway touchdown for no reason, the guy's absolutely baller. And again, he's not perfect in the categories of awareness as well as run support, but especially for his size, he definitely brings enough to the table, and he hasn't had enough time to fully develop in that. He's also really good. I think he had 4 touchdowns last year, 4 interceptions, like really, really good player overall. And again, at his size, I think he can play boundary corner if he really wanted to transition to a man system, or else he can play free safety. He played a lot of it. They randomly had him rotate to like free safety a lot of plays. I don't know why, but I think a team that could use that versatility is a team like the Dallas Cowboys. If Dan Quinn ends up becoming the head coach, honestly, I would kind of like that. He could definitely deploy Brian Branch in a lot of ways, and I would be a huge, huge fan of that. Let's continue on to number 7, Clark Phillips out of Utah. I apologize to Clark Phillips if he sees this video for using that image of him. I apologize. It's not exactly the most baller face look, but regardless, a solid frame overall. It's nothing spectacular. I would say it's still a negative because he's short. It kind of limits him to that slot corner role. But I do think his boundary corner skills are pretty damn solid. Again, flashes the zone coverage. I think a team like the Niners could basically maximize his capabilities. But again, he's still graded out. 75. I used to break it up into round grades. Like basically if you're 75 to 80, that's a round 1 grade, like a late to mid 1. And then 80 plus is going to be blue chip, and 90 plus is generational. So that's the way I used to do it. Now I'm basically doing it based off of skill, talent, and what their role will be. So I think he will definitely be a starter, like a day 1 starter. Clark Phillips does have that type of talent, but he needs to be in his own scheme. He's brilliant in zone. Big fan of that. Again, just whenever you see a guy do well in zone, you're probably going to see something about awareness on the positive side, because again, you really need to know how to play in zone. You have to be able to process the field while you're doing it. Again, super fluid athlete, but I didn't think that he was very athletic. So you can see him move very well. He changes directions very simply, very easily, moves in all directions very comfortably. But just, I do worry about him, especially at that size, the fact that he's not able to put up a 4.240. It is a little bit sus. But even in the run game, he can support, and he is just really solid all around. I think that size and that slot corner role is going to end up kind of pushing him into that top 100, that 3rd round territory. But again, this guy is a freak. He's a beast. Big fan of Clark Phillips right there. Kris Abrams-Draine, slot corner out of Mizzou. Unfortunately, he is on the lighter side, 8 pounds lighter than the guy that we just talked about before with frame issues. But again, when you look at Kris Abrams-Draine, he's not going to be the best guy in the run support game, because he can't, for some reason, quite a few of these safeties have a pretty tough time just running out of ball carrier. Very interesting. But, based on his size, he's not going to be able to do much, but he's still he's super fluid as an athlete overall. Again, he's super fast, and he should be at that size. Really good in coverage. He scored top notches in most of those categories. And especially for his size, he can support in the run game pretty well. That's something that I was a very big fan of, because a lot of these guys are scared of contact. And Kris Abrams-Draine isn't on like the suicide level that Jalen Catalon is, but definitely on that like comfortability, just knowing he's going to engage an offensive lineman. Again, he's a guy who gets a lot of PBUs, interceptions, etc. Like, and he's able to track the ball really well. Big fan of that. And again, I talked about that motor. He's not afraid of contact. I think a team like the Raiders could use somebody who's a little bit more versatile. This is one where I kind of plugged it in based off of something I wanted to do rather than something I thought was logical. But again, I think Kris Abrams-Draine just needs to go to a place where he gets an opportunity. The Raiders could be one of them. Jalen Catalon is next. So this guy was in my top 20, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Starting out the year, he's not going to be in my top 2 rounds, mainly because of injuries. But again, solid frame, a little bit short, and he just really couldn't process the run very well. A lot of these safeties could not. Again, that's not his specialty, though. I mean, he's one hell of a motor guy. Like, he's just going to dart at you, and he's not going to slow down. He kind of has like a missile mentality. It's like, once I hit you, that's when I'll slow. Like, it's insane. He can fly, and big fan of that. You know, I think that there's not really much you can legitimately nail him on, and you can just tell that he does give it his all as every single play. A team like the Giants, again, you got Brian Dable there. I know that Wink Martindale loves to be able to use safeties, especially third-round safeties, and Jalen Catalon is going to be a big asset to that team. I think that would be a big plus. Again, I think Xavier McKinney's coming up on a contract as well very soon. Jordan Love as well. We'll be doing those videos just so we can actually make sure. Again, this is why I like doing those videos. It gets me acquainted with those rosters. So let's continue on with number 10, ending off the list. This is a guy you guys are probably waiting for. Like, where the hell is Eli Ricks? Guy who I took as my number 1 corner in my way too early mock drafts. Yes, he is a very good scheme fit for certain teams. But the problem is he is not very good at man. He's also not very disciplined off the field. That's going to be a little bit tough. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have some problems on the field in terms of just not giving full effort. That's something that I'll check my notes for, but you guys will see that in the big videos when there's a lot more eyes on it. Again, I honestly didn't think he was a very good athlete, nor was he seemed pretty afraid of contact and not very effective once he was engaged with. That was a little bit sucky, but we all know that, again, you guys know this. If I say that there's going to be zone coverage in the positives, awareness/IQ is also going to be there. If you just understand how the play is developing, that's just automatically going to boost your score up. But again, we all know this. He's an interception freak. He's a touchdown machine. I'm excited to see what he does there at Alabama because this is very different. I've been talking about all these Alabama guys having these man coverage skills. All of a sudden, you're having a zone primary corner go there. This could be a huge opportunity for Eli Ricks to just totally jump up. But a team like the Eagles that could definitely use that in a cover 2 scheme with the zone, awesome. And then if he develops those man skills as well, that can make him much more well-rounded. I want to address a couple guys. I didn't get to study Tony Grimes yet. I know there's a kid from UCF and then a safety from Michigan. Not much tape out there at all, as well as a Mississippi State cat. We're still waiting on stuff like that. And again, once the season comes out, stuff like that's going to be popping all the time. Very excited to continue developing these lists, but this is a pretty big comprehensive breakdown of a lot of guys. And we really just have one position to go, and that's defensive tackle or interior defensive line, excuse me, to keep it more realistic. So let me know what you guys think. Again, we got even guys like Cam Smith who are just off the list. Jordan Battle just off the list. Brandon Joseph. We'll have like a not my guys, like the most overrated players very soon. So without further ado, see you guys on the far side. Peace.